Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, we got some more playoff talk to go over this week. We got quite a bit of playoff stuff, a couple of head coaching news, and not to mention the fact that it was either 1 or 2 episodes ago, but you hit the nail on the head. You said
I did.
when the Leafs were up 2-0 and every other series was 2-1. You said that the most likely team to come back in their series was the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, I'm just a stud like that though. Like that, no one should be surprised by this.
Oh, apparently, like you were absolutely correct. We already know that you were right on 2 of the series. One of them is 3-2, and well, they're both 3-2, except one of them one of those meant that the Panthers had to win 3 straight to get there. So, props, you absolutely know your puck.
Ho. I totally forgot about that. So I'm actually glad you brought that up because I did not remember that for a second.
No, yeah,
Hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, they were in the biggest hole, and they're the one to come back, and you called it. So good looking out there. But we'll get into the playoffs in a minute here. But before that, we've got a couple of head coaching announcements around the league. Do you want to talk about either of these? Are either of these near and dear to your heart?
Not really. I guess they kind of go hand in hand because one is Vancouver and the other is Rick Tocchet, who left Vancouver. It was his choice to not return to the Canucks. So I think start with actually, I don't even know which one came first. I think they came around the exact same time. Before we get into that, actually, the one thing I will say, because we did say it wasn't official, but we do know it is official that Ken Holland is now officially the GM of the LA Kings. So if you want to hear our thoughts about everything about that, go back to last episode, but we can now officially say that he is there and he is their guy. So, but for coaching, let's start with Vancouver. The Vancouver Canucks announced that Adam Foote is now the new head coach of the Vancouver Canucks. He did spend the last 2 and a bit seasons, it looks like, as the assistant coach there behind Rick Tocchet, and now he is taking over as the new head coach. So
Yeah, I mean,
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I mean, it's a outside the box hire. It's obviously, I think it's a coach that Quinn Hughes is quite fond of, and I think keeping him in the mix and in the fold to keep Quinn Hughes happy, because if you're Vancouver, that's that's what matters most, is keeping Quinn Hughes happy and making sure he doesn't want to leave. And if making Foote head coach makes Hughes happy, I mean, and why not give him a chance? We don't know what he's like as a head coach in this league, so.
Yeah, I'm in general, like, unless I really, really do not trust the front office of a team. And to be fair, I'm not exactly fond of the front office for the Canucks, but in general, I do like teams hiring head coaches from within. I think it's one of those things where it's like, nobody else would know this guy better than the guys who just promoted him to that point. Like sometimes it's a case of there's not the right fit out there. You can't find anybody else, but sometime like every great coach that has coached for the sport has to start somewhere. And generally it's because they started as an assistant and eventually they worked their way up to being a head coach. So we don't know how good he'll be, but he comes from a hockey family. He's been around the league for so long. Like it's the Canucks, right? Worst case scenario, he's really bad at it and he's gone by December. Like, he's not a big enough name that they have to give him an insane leash. If he is horrendous at it, they can cut him loose relatively quick. They prefer not to, but if it's like that bad, they could.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, right? You're kind of in a position where you're the Canucks and it's no longer kind of win now, like with your group and, going all in. You're kind of looking at it where you're trying to stay competitive, but it's kind of got to be a retool. And I think Adam Foote's, this is a perfect position to put him in because there's not the pressure of, you got to win the cup, you got to win Presidents, you got to go third round, you got to go cup final. Like there's really no expectations for the Canucks. So, let him get his feet wet as a head coach this year and, give him some talent to work with. Obviously, they got a little bit of work they got to do this offseason, and he's going to have, his hand in the mix there because there's going to be guys that are going to be of what he's looking for the team. So, I mean, I got no issue with it. I like it
Yeah.
more than going out and grabbing a, just whoever is out there that was already head coach. Why
Yeah.
not
Just
take
grabbing
a
the
swing on
most
a guy and
recently
maybe
fired coach.
yeah, maybe this is a home run for him in the end. And, Adam Foote goes on to be, probably not gonna happen, but like a John Cooper, a Mike Sullivan, like a guy that's just there for, years and years and years because the team gets results, he gets success as a coach, and they roll with it. So why not,
And
right?
so you have it written down that he's spent the previous 3 seasons as an assistant coach for the Canucks, right?
Yeah.
So would that mean he was an assistant for the last 2 coaches? Was he also there for Bruce Boudreau?
I guess yeah, he was there for the year when Bruce Boudreau was fired was his first year. Where
Yeah.
Boudreau was like coach for I don't know, 2/3 of the season or something.
Yeah, I think from November or December-ish. But like
Yeah.
Rick Tocchet and Bruce Boudreau, those are 2 pretty good coaches to be learning under. Like
Yeah.
it would make sense if he picked up a lot of good habits along the way from those guys. So
Yeah.
I definitely don't mind it. I am a little bit worried, not particular because of him or anything, but obviously, Adam Foote, his son right now, Cal Foote, is going through the whole sexual assault scandal and the World Junior thing. And normally I would be like, whatever, he's very removed from it. And he is, as far as we know. But the Canucks over the past 6 months have had so many, like, 1 out of 10 is too good to describe it. They've had so many like -1 out of 10 interviews with their GMs and their presidents and their owners, and it's like it just seems like everybody who touches this org needs somebody to take the keys, take the mic, don't let them talk. So I'm really hoping they don't go out there in the preseason and like the first thing that a reporter says is, "Oh, is this a distraction for the team?" It's like, "Ah, fuck, here we go again." Like,
And I hope it's not because I
because that has nothing to do with the Canucks, right?
exactly, right? It's the same way as like the first thing I started seeing all of these, keyboard warriors on Twitter was like, once the Canucks announced this, they were like, "Oh, well, Anaheim's out of the doghouse now. All the heat's on Vancouver." It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa! Like, let's hold up on stuff like that. Like, yes, with the name Foot, there's obviously all that outside stuff, but at the end of the day, it's I don't think it should be a distraction for the Canucks. Will it in the eyes of the media? Probably.
They have a
Internally with
rather
the team, I
aggressive media
don't
in
think so.
Vancouver. Like
Yeah,
they're
so I
a
think
top
it'll be the
5, potentially
media.
top 3,
Mhm.
and that's what I'm worried about. Like I don't think it really is going to do much with Adam Foote being their coach, but just it would be so annoying for he's trying to get the team to buy into his system or however it works and all that, and then the media is just like, "Oh, is this a distraction for you?" And it's just like, "Fuck, man, can anybody ever talking in front of a mic in Vancouver catch a break?" Like all the JT Miller stuff and just all
Mhm.
kinds of stuff has been going on over the past year for them, and it's like, oh,
And I would
just
hope
ask
that
me a question where I can answer pucks in deep.
yeah,
Because
and I hope
they
it would be
never
a
get asked about the
consensus.
game.
And I hope it'd be consensus with the team to just shut it down and just be like, no, because the team we're going to get to, the Flyers, look what happened about a year and a half ago ish. The stuff that happened with their general manager Danny Briere, his kid, and the shit he did and getting kicked off his team, was that a distraction for the team? Like, no, like it's. So
Yeah,
I again, will the media try and make something out of it? Absolutely, because that's
yeah,
their job, and that's what at the end of the day is going to get them clicks and views on their articles and stuff. For the team, I doubt it,
yeah. I
especially
really
because it's
don't think
not
it
like
will be.
they picked Adam Foote up from wherever and brought him in. Like, he's already been there, he's already been in that locker room for 3 seasons. He's been around these guys for 3 seasons, and
Yeah.
so
Unless it somehow comes out in the court case that like he picked up his kid afterwards from that and was like somehow tangentially involved. Like unless it's
Mhm,
something insane like that, there's no reason to really believe that it's really much of anything. Like a head coach has
exactly.
so much to think about. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, you've got to be able to compartmentalize. So hopefully, because I can't imagine they would ask multiple times. It would be like the first media availability, and hopefully it just gets shut down, and they're just like, no, it's not, and we won't be answering questions on it going further, and that's it.
yeah.
But there's a couple of those reporters around the league, and Vancouver's got a few of them that they push the buttons, they keep going for it. We saw just the other night, McDavid went off on one of the reporters because they put up back-to-back shutouts on the Golden Knights, and reporter comes out after a 1-0 overtime win and says, "Are you worried about your team's defense?" And he's going, "Fuck's sake,
But
man! Like, look what we just
it's
did."
just stupid stuff that, again, it's just at the end of the day, whatever can engage
It's kind of lazy.
people
Like,
to get clicks on their articles and views and downloads. That's all they care about at the end of the day.
yeah. But
So
like, how many people want to read another article where it's like, "Ooh, is the Edmonton Oilers defense bad?" Like, I feel like it's all been said to death. It feels almost just lazy at this point that like they can't they can't say something new. You've been
mm,
asking the
yeah,
same question for 5 years in a row.
yeah.
Like, go ask him about Darnell Nurse's contract again. I'm sure he's got new opinions on it, right?
Don't we all? No, I don't really. I'm still in the same boat on that. But the other team that we did mention, and now we know it's official, the Philadelphia Flyers, they hired Rick Tocchet as the team's next head coach. Rick Tocchet obviously has a long and familiar history with the Philadelphia Flyers, spending many years of his career there. Um,
It sounded like the
I liked it.
contract that he accepted was the exact same one that he turned down from Vancouver. 5 years
Oh,
at 5 mil.
so he's winning then.
Yeah.
He got to go
So
to his destination of choice, probably the team he wanted to go to the most because, again, he's just got so much history there.
yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. And it sounds like that was the case. It sounds like he did really want to go to the Flyers, and I imagine they were just stoked to hear about that
They were
because he's a
pumped to
great
get him.
coach. Like,
Yeah.
that's and I do wonder what some coaches around the league like. I would have to do some digging to figure out who was in this situation, let alone what they would feel about it. But I got to like, what is it like going in to being a head coach on a new team, but also one that was just being coached by John Tortorella? Like, does it make your job harder? Do they have other things that they're so ingrained with that you have to try and overwrite? Is it easier because like he's kind of instilled a work your ass off culture? Like,
I don't think so, honestly. I think it's one of those things where he comes in, first day, it's like first day of school, and it's like, all right, clean slate, you know, the skills and whatnot you learned, sure, hold on to those, but this is the system we're gonna be running, this is how we're gonna do things. We're all buying into this system now, and this is the way it's gonna be going forward. And if you do that, it's on the players. If you can't buy into a system, well,
yeah,
then it's one of those things where we see what happened with lots of players, where lots of skill, but if you can't fit in with a coach's system or buy in, you don't last there very long. So I think it's just clean slate. This is how we're going to run things, and you either accept it or you don't, and you'll be
we'll have to
elsewhere.
deal with that accordingly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that a lot of head coaches coming into teams that Tortorella has coached right before them. I don't doubt they'll come in and be like, "Man, these guys feel like they work harder than most teams when you first show up." And if that's the case, like that's a dream, right? You go in there and it's
Mhm.
just you're ready to employ your system, but like everyone's just like you go out there and it's like, damn, the Canucks, they didn't skate like this in practice. Like they're skating like it's a game, and
Mhm.
it's the off season. Like, and if that's the case, I mean that's like your dream scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
But
this is a terrific hire for
I love this
Philly. I
for
think
him.
this is a great fit for what they need, and We'll see how it goes for him next year. Obviously, lots of talent on that team. Uh, going to be getting a great player in the first round this year. Actually, a couple because they got multiple firsts. Actually, three first round picks. So Philly's a fun team right now in terms of what their offseason is going to look like because there's a lot of different things they can do. They got a lot of up and coming talent. They still got good players that have been a part of that course. So we'll see how it goes here. But I think as far as the coaching hire, I think they smashed it here.
Yeah, I totally agree. But beyond that, those are our two head coaching announcements. We can move on to some of the playoff talk. I have one other thing to talk about here, but it's kind of a little bit related to one of the playoff series. So I guess we'll start with that one, but that is the Carolina Hurricanes defeating the Washington Capitals in 5 games. I did think the Hurricanes were going to beat the Capitals in this series, but I thought it would at least go 6, maybe 7. I didn't really think they were going to beat them in 5.
I mean, I picked Capitals just off vibes, just kind of one of those things of like, you know what? They've proven me wrong so many times to the point where I just bought in. I just said, all right, you know what? I'll ride with them till the wheels fell off. They fell off very quickly here. The Capitals were never this on paper when you look at like, you know, just their record and what they've done this season. It's like, oh, they're a wagon, a juggernaut. They really weren't. It was I don't want to say an above average team because that's disrespectful to them, but it wasn't like a Carolina Hurricanes. It wasn't like a Dallas Stars, a Edmonton Oilers type thing. Like it was a good team, but looking at advanced stats, they weren't that great. It was a team that kind of just kept finding ways to win and pulling ones out. Got some great goaltending throughout the season. So like I'm not even surprised that Carolina did beat them in 5. Like, yeah, I did have Washington pick, but at the end of the day, that was just a vibes pick and me just buying in on the bullshit that they sold all season long, really. Looking at
Yeah,
so I mean, I'm not surprised by this one bit, honestly. Like Carolina was just the better team.
yeah, and they, you know, maybe not to the degree, despite it being in the same amount of games. I don't think they outclassed them to the same degree that they visibly outclassed the Devils,
Mm-hmm.
but they they were handily beating them in this series, and they they just looked great out there. Like they might be a dark horse this year. I know a lot of people like pick them, year in year out as one of the top teams to win because they're that good. But at a certain point, they kind of fall off of people's radar because they've been to the second round, the conference final, like 5 years in a row. Like they're constantly in there, and haven't even gotten to the cup final in the last decade. So, it
Carolina's
feels like,
last 3 trips to the Eastern Conference Finals, 2009, and then they went 10 years not making the playoffs. And then 2019, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals. And then 2023, they went to Eastern Conference Finals. They're 0-12 through those 3 years in Eastern Conference Finals. Their last 3
swept
trips,
all 3
they've been swept
times.
3 times. So this is big for them. Again, we don't know who
Objective
they're
win a
playing
game.
yet. They're either playing Florida or Toronto, but it's like, yeah, just win at least one game, get that monkey off your back and be like, all right, we're good now. That pressure is gone at least of, oh, they can't win a game in the third round. Just win at least one and then see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things I wanted to bring up about this series was
Oh, yes.
something that Spencer Carberry said after Game 5, after they were eliminated. And he said that Jacob Slavin should be a perennial Norris Trophy candidate. He said that every year in, year out, he is one of the best defensemen in the league, and he should, like every year in the last 4 or 5 years, be up for the Norris Trophy. And I just want to get your take on that because he's one player in particular that you hear this about a lot. Like, defense is underrated, and it's, the Norris Trophy is just the who has the most offense trophy, but for defensemen. And so I just want to get your take on what you think about the idea of Slavin being a Norris level guy.
Long story short, no. Sole reason, because we know the Norris is best offensive defenseman. They say the best defenseman, it just goes to one of the top offensive defensemen. The guy puts up the most points, basically whoever that is. Again, and it goes back to what we talked about back around February-ish or so, might even been January, talking about, again, we keep going back to that. They got to bring in an award for like defensive defensemen. And if they did that, yeah, Slavin would be, it'd be kind of like Barkov with the Selke. He'd be like a unanimous finalist every year for it and winning a bunch of them. But in terms of the Norris, I mean, no, because they've set the precedent that it doesn't matter if you're the best in your own end and excelling in the defensive areas of the game. If you're not racking up the points, it doesn't matter. Like, you're going to get some votes from some guys, but the majority aren't gonna. So in terms of the actual Norris, I'm going to say no, because that's just the way they do it. But if it was if they brought another defenseman award for the defensive side, absolutely slam dunk finalist every year.
For sure. But what if it was like, because we know the Norris is very heavily based on the offensive production, but if it was, or if they made, the Norris became a stats trophy, it just goes to the defenseman with the most points, like the Art Ross, and then they created just a best overall defenseman. How the Norris is supposed to be, but obviously kind of at this point isn't. Do you think he would still be a finalist for something like that? Where it's like, it in a hypothetical world where the offense and the defense are like equally rated, and it's not just a race for the biggest number. Do you think he would still be at that point?
That one's tough, because if you do an award like that, you're probably not going to have, well, you might still have like the Hughes and Makars, but saying you don't have those guys, you're still looking at the, Adam Foxes, the Victor Hedmans, the Roman Yossis, like those kind of guys. I think almost at this point now kind of fall more into that category.
Right.
Like Adam Fox could definitely still go and win a Norris, don't get me wrong. But again, just looking at the talent of defensemen and who's there right now, it's hard, and especially where the Rangers are at, it's just hard to see a world where he wins a Norris, at least in the next few years. Kind of same thing with Victor Hedman and Roman Yossi, just kind of they're more on the older side now, and the point totals aren't there, but they're still very good in their own end.
Yeah.
So for something like that, I think he's definitely more in the conversation and consideration, 100%. And could he be a finalist? I think absolutely.
Okay.
The point totals maybe would have to come up a bit, because again, does he play a better defensive game than a guy like Hedman or Yossi? Sure. But then on the offensive side, Hedman and Yossi, clear Slavin in that category. And so it just come down to the voter on what would he value more, I guess, if there was an award that kind of viewed both of them on an even level. Right.
Because obviously, talking in the realm of wanting it to just be the best defenseman, a lot of people I saw online were agreeing with Carberry that Slavin should be a perennial Norris candidate or finalist. And I get the sentiment, because god damn is he good in his own end. Like, there's not a doubt in my mind he's the best defensive defenseman in the league. Like, if you need one guy to go out there and kill a penalty, shut the other team down in whatever scenario, he is the guy. Like, unless we're bringing in goalies, which is a whole different conversation. But
and we knew he was good defensively, but it feels like this year he really took that next step. And, back at the end of the calendar year in December, we didn't have him in our top 50.
No, we didn't.
Would he be there now? Absolutely. Where would he be on the list?
Yeah,
I don't
think
know,
so too.
but he would absolutely be on our list now, because again, we always knew how good he was. But it just feels like, especially throughout this year and then the play in the Four Nations, the play in the playoffs, his game has hit that next level. Very similar to, we saw that with Josh Morrissey. a couple years ago, we knew he was good, but then out of nowhere, bam, he hit that next level out of nowhere and is now, you know, whatever you want to put him. He
Uh,
top 10, top
top
15,
10.
whatever,
Yeah.
whatever you feel like. So,
Yeah, and I saw so many people saying that he would be that guy, and like he's so valuable to a team for sure, but I just think of like, a guy like Quinn Hughes. Like Quinn Hughes can put up 90 points in a season as a defenseman compared to Slavin this year who got 27. That's a huge gap. That's like 60 points in
mhm.
difference. And Quinn Hughes still has really good defensive numbers. He's not Jacob Slavin in his own zone, far from it, but he's well above the average defenseman. And it's
Yeah.
like, is going from good to the elite of the elite in defense enough to cover a 60-point gap? I
Mhm.
feel like not.
It's not,
Like
no.
I feel like if Slavin was playing like this 5 years ago, when the Norris was consistently going to guys getting defensemen getting 75, 80 points, stuff like that,
Yeah.
and if he puts up, 35 points, 40 points, but he's insane defensively, now there's a decent argument. But like these top guys who are scoring all these points, they're not they're not typically guys like Eric Carlson anymore who are, they're not the Evan Bouchards who are offense and also I play my on the sheet it says defenseman. Like,
Mhm.
Cale Makar, Werenski, Hughes, the three finalists this year, they all play a pretty decent defensive game at the least. Like
Yeah.
they're not defensive liabilities. And so because of that, it feels harder to make that argument. But I just wanted to get your take on that because
No,
there's
that's
a lot of people
100%.
talking about it. And either way, Slavin does deserve to be talked about more. And I
Mhm.
I 100% think they need to bring in a defensive defenseman trophy
Mhm.
because at this point, yeah, like we know what the Norris is. Give some of these other guys who just just excel in this defensive role. Give them something to go after because
Yeah. I agree.
it it just feels like they should have one at this point.
Mhm. Um, Obviously a very, very, good looking win for Carolina. Obviously, again, winning in 5 games is impressive. With Washington, and this might sound dumb, but I almost kind of feel like Ovi breaking the record hurt them because
I
this was a
Yeah,
team that was so and again, it's not like they were a wagon because advanced stats, they were, middle of the pack. They weren't anything flashy, but again, they found ways to win games still. And it almost kind of feels like once Ovi broke that record, that buzz and excitement kind of disappeared a little bit. Um,
100% it did.
Not to say Ovi looked bad in the playoffs, but it felt like he was disinterested. It felt like he was kind of checked out a little bit. Obviously, still trying, and obviously he wanted to win. I'm not saying he packed it in, but it kind of seemed like he was a little bit disinterested from what we would normally expect from Alex Ovechkin in the playoffs.
Yeah,
And
I think
for a
him
team
in
that
game
their whole goal
65
was,
to 75 was probably better than him in the
yeah,
playoffs.
like the whole season was basically we're playing with house money. Everybody wrote us off. Look at us excelling, and we're helping Ovi chase down history and this historical season that he was having with the broken leg and everything, and still managing to break the record. And he breaks it at the end of the year, and then it's like, well, shit. All right, okay, now playoffs now, kind of thing. Like all this that we've been doing all season is just like that. Boom, in one game, it's done. We've had the ceremony. It's now we're just we're just playing hockey again, type of thing. Um,
They really
so
did
I
slow
would
down a
almost
lot,
kind of
and
like to
not
see him
not even
to,
just Ovi. Like the whole team
yeah,
kind of slowed
yeah,
down a good bit to the point where they played like 500 hockey for the last 10, 15 games of the year, all the way to the point of Logan Thompson falling out of the Vesna finalist spot that seemed pretty locked up by game 60.
yeah. I would love to see like a different timeline where Ovi didn't break the record and see what this Capitals team would look like rolling into the playoffs.
Yeah,
Obviously, you can't see that, but for the Capitals, I mean, at the end of the day, you went to the second round, ba- basically everybody, us included, had you sitting damn near bottom of the Metro. So to win that division and go to the second round, whatnot, I think at the end of the day, you do got to be happy with that. Obviously, would have liked to go all the way in what would have been one of the craziest seasons of all times by a franchise. Just wasn't meant to be this year. That's all I can really say.
I thought
Congrats
they
to
were
Carolina.
rebuilding. I thought they were rebuilding team a year ago. Like,
we got a bright
straight
future
up.
now with the young guys they got and some of the core pieces that they have right now. The team's in good hands going forward.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a Jack Adams winning coach.
Yeah, that as well.
I would assume so, at least. I assume
he would be my pick for sure.
But I don't really have much else to say on this series other than that. Obviously, we'll keep talking with Carolina and their chase as it continues. For
Congrats
Washington,
to them. Huge win.
Again, got a good young core coming up. This isn't the end of the world. The door's still open. Just keep it going.
Keep it going.
We're off to next.
Where a couple do we want to go?
Let's just go to the other one, the other series that's wrapped up, I guess. And
then
we'll go to the two that are still active and teams that are duking it out with each other. The Edmonton Oilers, on the back of a Stuart Skinner shutout, beat the Vegas Golden Knights 1-0 in overtime to win Game 5 and win the series in 5 games. This is a damn good Oilers team.
I mean, is this the worst we've ever seen the Vegas Golden Knights look in a playoff series? And that's not even really a much of a slight on them. That's just how good they've been since they got into the league. But is this the baddest they've ever been beaten in the playoffs?
Yeah, because realistically, Vegas probably should have gotten swept in this series. I firmly do believe that if Riley Smith's puck through the crease doesn't go off Draisaitl sticking in, I firmly do believe that Edmonton wins that game in overtime.
Probably,
and I think they just go on to win the series in 4. I think this is best case scenario for Edmonton, actually, that you didn't sweep them, because it allowed you to get Skinner kind of going a bit, racks up back-to-back shutouts like that. He's cooking now. So I think losing that game to Vegas was a little bit of a blessing in disguise. Because now you're able to get Stuart Skinner kind of rolling a bit. You've got him hot. Now this is your guy that you wanted to get him back in, but you needed to get that. You needed him to prove that he can handle it and he's ready. And he's done absolutely just that. But for Vegas, they looked awful. They did not look like a team that won their division.
They didn't look like Vegas out there.
No.
Vegas, other than this year, every year when they step out there in the playoffs, they've got aura. They just have this air of, there's 3 minutes left. They're down by 2. We'll see. We'll see how it ends. They never really felt out of it. They always felt like they were still in a series, but they got manhandled here. And
but what's Vegas's identity now? For the longest time, it was the Golden Misfits. It was all the guys that none of these teams wanted, and now it's most of those guys are gone. What do you have left? You have Theodore, McNabb, Carlson, and then you brought back Riley Smith at the deadline. You've kind of moved on from that, and now it's not even I think Dorofiev's kind of the one exception for the most part. But along with, I guess, Haig and Whitecloud, but it's all guys you went out and you traded for and you brought in.
Yeah,
you look at Eichel, Stone,
and I think that's what they gotta
Hurdle, Hanifin, Hill. You want to cup with most of these guys, but the identity in the core you built around is you're just shoving them out the door, basically. Look at Fleury, look at Marchessault, even Riley Smith before they brought him back. It was thanks for what you did, thanks for your service, but we're just dumping you like trash to move on with these other guys we're bringing in, and eventually hit that point where you have no prospects really coming up. You have You don't have your first round pick this year. Your first round pick next year is completely unprotected going to Calgary. You
That could be interesting.
you don't have that war chest anymore that you can ship out to bring stuff in, and I think it's finally caught up with them. They're not as deep of a team. They don't have that identity. Uh, Not to say Aiden Hill was bad, but he definitely struggled in the playoffs this year. He didn't look like the Aiden Hill that won him a cup. Um,
His extension, by the way, kicks in this offseason at $6.25 million for the next 6 years.
I'm not going to say I'm worried about it yet, but early doors
It's a little
with the way
scary.
the playoffs went, I'm not pumped about it right now. I'm not worried about it, but I'm not, you
Goalies
know.
don't make a ton of money
Mhm.
generally. Like some of the guys out there, Shesterkin, they command money, but like, Vasilevsky's still in at 9.5. I mean, what did Hellebuck just re-up for? Like, was it
I think
8
8 and a half.
even?
Eight
Eight
and
and
a
a half.
half. Him and
Yeah, eight
Scheifele
and a half
even,
for the
yeah.
next 7 years. Like those are what the top goalies are getting is often below 10 million, but
Mhm.
most team starters are making not huge amounts. So if he's, you know, making six and a quarter, you're gonna need him to be a little bit more solid.
The
But
one
we
outlier
have
with
seen him be solid in the past for
yeah,
sure. So
the one outlier with the goalies is Bobrovsky, who's making 10. And I see people always talking about it, but the important thing to remember with Bobrovsky is he was a free agent. He went to the open market. Every team had a chance to get him. And with that, when there's a bidding war, you have to overpay. Just strictly
of
looking at
course,
goalies who re upped with their current team and signed an extension. Those guys don't really get that. I mean, obviously Shesterkin's the odd man out in that, but most goalies, they don't get above that 10 mil because that's just kind of the way it goes. It's the same as when you look at football. Running backs don't they don't get paid that much. They get paid much less than a lot of other guys, despite doing the same amount of work, if not more, in most cases. Just kind of the way it goes in the way of the market type of thing. Um, but
yeah,
yeah, I mean, Vegas just did.
no, yeah. I
They
mean, could you
they did
imagine if
not love it.
Hellebuck went to free agency last offseason? He'd be making a
Yeah,
lot more than 8.5 right now. He's probably making probably 10.5, 11.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, but this team, they definitely need to embrace the evil empire attitude. And I think the amount I think a lot of fans, I think it's fairly safe to say both of us included, are not huge fans of the way they operate, and they're so easy to move off of their guys like Marchessault and Fleury and all that. But I think a lot of the players around the league like that. I think they love to play for a team like that, and they love that killer instinct that the team has. And it's like this team is willing to do what it takes to win. If I can earn my spot on that roster, I've got a really good opportunity there. And
But that's not the case with Vegas though. There's no earning your spot really.
I,
Look
I
at Fleury.
think I
He
think it is.
won a Vezina, and they literally dumped him for nothing.
Don't be old.
Marchessault won a Conn Smythe the following year. They let him walk. They said, "We're not willing to give you a fair deal. We want to underpay you," and they let him out the door.
I
I kind of get.
like
I do kind of get what you're saying, but at the
and
same time, it's
the
like
thing is I agree with you. That's the weird part because I feel like I'm just being having to be the devil's advocate because every time players are asked about Vegas, they talk about them like fuck man, that would be great to be there. I don't think there's very many players despite how shitty they've treated some of their franchise legends as early as that is to say for a team this young. I don't think the players care. I think they're like, no, I'll be a guy that stays there for a bit, and while I'm there, it's going to be amazing. I just don't
and
think the
I
players
do
care
think you
about
are
that,
kind of right with that though.
and to me, that's crazy because that is absolutely something I would care about.
It's kind of the
But
same thing with the Rangers,
I'm
right? The
also
way
not in the NHL.
they've treated guys the past couple years. We're sitting here like, you know, why would anyone want to go play there based
Yeah,
on what they've done the past couple years? But we know at the end of the day, it's Madison Square Garden, it's Manhattan, it's the New York Rangers. Players are going to want to go there.
yeah,
It's just the way it works.
yeah, and
Regardless of all these other things, players are if they can push their way there, they will.
Yeah. Not to mention, as we know, winning solves all problems, and this is a very winning team.
Mhm.
So,
A lot of
if
success in their short history.
yeah. So if they do start, losing, maybe they miss the playoffs once, a couple first round exits, then, maybe we start seeing it be, looked at as less of a desirable location than it once was. But for now, I don't think they'll have trouble getting guys to buy in too much.
It
But
it does make you wonder though with
this
Vegas,
is
like
the weakest look that we've seen on them
mhm.
really ever, honestly.
And it makes you wonder because again, like Mark Stone, he'll be 34 going into next season. Um, Alex Petrangelo, he's 35. He mid next season,
35.
he's going to be turning, 36. Jack Eichel is going to be turning 29 next year. Hurdle is going to be turning 32 next
Yeah.
year. Like,
Eichel up for an extension on July 1st as well.
yeah,
Not a
William
not a clue
Karlsson,
what that looks like.
he's going to be turning 33 next season, right? Like you kind of look at it, it's like, can you, without prospects coming up, without, draft picks this year or next year, can you make a core work out of guys like Dorofeev, Barbashev, Howden,
Uh,
Olofsson? Like,
Holtz,
no.
if you want to throw him in there,
Holtz
it's
is no,
it's tough
he's
to make
done.
the argument.
He had a very better, even McNabb, he's gonna be turning 35 next year. Like it's a team that went all in and thankfully for them, you won your cup, but now you're looking at it and again, it's kind of like one of those things. You've got 2 to 3 years to try and get another cup before that inevitable rebuild comes. And without, you know, you're going to need another Dorofeev surprise to come out of nowhere next year and be a 30 goal guy, or some defenseman to come up and be a stud two-way guy, or offensive or defensive, whatever way you want. Because they just don't have that much, and they don't have much cap space to work with. So is it one of those things where we see a guy get pushed out the door to open up money and room for someone else? Maybe. And for Vegas, I mean, I don't hate it because again, you've got a 2 to 3 year window, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think there's a good chance that they'll move some of the more movable guys and try and do a quick retool. I think it's just they're one of those teams that until it's forced upon them, they will not go. They
Yeah.
like almost what we're seeing with the Penguins over the past, 6 or 7 years. Like they're competitive, they're falling off, Nope, they keep firing the picks out, keep doing everything you can to stay competitive for Crosby. And for them, it's not because of one guy. It's just the culture they have. But
And that's
eventually,
the worst way
eventually
to
the wheels will
do it.
fall off, and some teams can just retool and just kind of
Washington.
walk it like Washington. Yeah, they were a top team in the regular season for longer than a decade, and then it was like finally they're falling off. Ovi's getting older. They don't have all these guys. Carlson's kind of over the hill. We'll see where they go, and then all of a sudden, they just found the guys, and they didn't need to wait to the point where they got down to the top 5 picks, the first overall picks. They never had to go that low to get there. Like,
The
obviously,
main
it
difference is
really helps,
Washington
but
had those first round picks that they could
yeah,
use. Vegas, literally the only um every player Vegas has drafted in the first round has been moved off the team except for Trevor Conley, who was their first round pick last year. Every other
yeah,
first round pick they used has been traded, or first round pick just has been traded and they didn't use.
yeah.
So, you got to start hitting some home runs on guys in the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh round. And
Yeah, a lot easier
they've
said
got
than
a
done.
couple that have like a Dorothy, like a Nick Hague, but you need a couple. You need two or three to make a retool work.
Yeah. Yeah,
So they
unless you're,
got
like,
to get on
literally
that
getting,
scouting.
like, a Kucherov in the second round, like, then you
Yeah,
have to find several of those role players in there. It can't
yeah.
just be you hit on one third rounder. It's like, you gotta hit on a few to be able to turn around, so we'll see what they do. I definitely think there's a good chance they'll be moving on from Carlson sooner rather than later. He
I
seems
think
like
they
one of the
got it.
guys that probably is on his way out. He's getting older.
That
He's
you
making
got
a
it.
lot of money.
Yeah. He
But
would be the most likely, I think, because again, like what more is there for him with Vegas? Again, you are paying him what was it, 5?
5.9.
5, and so you've got Eichel and you've got Hurdle. You don't need to be paying Carlson. Again, he's a great player and whatnot still, but that's a lot of money for a third line center.
Yeah. And he has a clause, includes a 10-team no trade list. So
Yeah, you can
he can block
move
out
him.
some of the bad teams, but there's plenty of spots he can still go. So I would not be surprised at all to see him moved in the offseason. But other than that, I
Mhm.
really don't know. They'd have to get a little creative.
And we've seen him get created before, and with this Vegas team again, it's one of those things where until they're blowing it up and moving everybody out and waving the white flag, I'm always gonna be like, all right, they're always circling around, waiting to do something crazy.
Yeah, like the Bruins this year. Like,
Yeah,
it was just nope, I'm not going to count them out until they're out because goddamn, this team is like cockroaches. They just will not go away. And it wasn't until they went on a losing streak, they were looking real rough, and they just said fuck it, and they sold everything that wasn't nailed down.
yeah.
And when that happens, we'll see it. But until then,
Yeah,
I'm not counting them out.
yeah. But all in all, congrats to Vegas on another successful season. Again, it's not what they wanted, but you know what? They still a hell of a year for them. As for Edmonton, again, we're gonna keep pumping their tires and talking about them as the
Without
playoffs go on.
Ekholm,
But
holy.
so I don't know with Ekholm because now it's sounding like he might not even be back for the third round. Is one of those ones that it keeps getting pushed back, and the scary
I
part
think
is
he was
because it's a
never
groin. It's a
I think he
groin
was never
injury.
going to play, honestly.
That's
He
almost kind
The
of what I'm
way they
wondering.
talked about it in the regular season was like his season's over. And then the playoffs hit and it was like he's out for the first 2 rounds probably. And then we got to the second round, it's oh yeah, he's definitely out for the second round. I think he's not going to play in the third round. I think he might play in the finals. He won't be 100%. I do not expect
Mhm.
that at all in this year. If he plays, I think he'll be in the finals, and I don't think it'll be in the first few games either.
And even then, it's can you put him on the top pair with Bouchard? Like
Probably not.
probably not. I don't
If
think you
if you
can.
got to the finals with Bouchard playing with somebody else on the top pairing, I think you put Ekholm in on the second or third pairing, depending on how good he is to go, maybe penalty kill. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
he'd have to be sheltered because it it looks like it's not good. You know, I think it's
Yeah.
going to be
It's
an injury that won't ail him into next season. But as far as this playoff run goes, it's not what you want to see.
it doesn't sound great, but I mean everything else for Edmonton. McDavid's buzzing, Draisaitl's buzzing, Stuart Skinner. Again, I mean back to back shutouts. Like he's and it's not even like they were easy shutouts. Like he had to work for me. He had to make some really good saves. He had to make some saves in a 0-0 overtime game. Like he, we always talk about it. It's like, well, I mean, if your team only scores one goal, you got to stand on your head to steal that game for him, and he did exactly that. Normally in Edmonton's case, they're winning games. I mean, look at the LA series, like
6-5, 5-4. Yeah.
yes, yeah, like so to win a game 1-0, like that's a Stuart Skinner win. He put the team on his back for that game when they were having a tough night scoring goals, and he said, "I got you, boys." Also, in a game where Kasperi Kapanen came in game 4 for Victor Arvidsson. Edmonton won game 4 and 5, shutting out Vegas. They had about, between the two of them, about like 8.5 mil sitting in the press box in Jeff Skinner and Victor Arvidsson. That's also pretty impressive for them.
Yeah, that means, one of their guys goes down, you've got competent players who can slot in and fill those spots. So like they've got the depth too, and like they've man, the depth on this team is kind of crazy because obviously, up front, besides the main two in McDavid and Draisaitl, you don't have as much of a supporting cast in like the top six, but a team that
It's
has
working.
Trent Frederick, Matthias Janmark, Corey Perry as your fourth line, like
Still pretty good.
fuck, that's a
Pretty damn good.
nasty. That'd be a good third line on most teams, on most
Mhm.
playoff teams. The fact that that's their fourth line and they've got two quality guys that are currently scratched, like they've
Yeah.
they've got some injury insurance, which you know, as much as it sucks to think about, you really have to plan for in the playoffs.
hmm And big ups to Kasperi Kapanen. Again, he was kind of the 13th man, even 14th actually, going in the playoffs. Found his way into the lineup. He looked great in game 4. He's a one-man wrecking crew out there hitting everything. And he gets the game winner to move Edmonton on to the third round. So, again, a guy that was listed as your 14th forward. In most teams, you've got 14 forwards and 7 defensemen you carry. He was the lowest man on the totem pole, and he scored the biggest goal for them in the playoffs up to this point. So again, just goes to show that for a team that kind of gets dogged on as they're not that deep, yeah, they're pretty fucking deep.
Yeah,
Pretty good for them. I don't really
it,
have much else to say on the series
yeah,
though.
it
Bye bye
really
Vegas.
feels like the Oilers are a team that feels kind of destined to go on another cup run, but uh, I just struggle to think about a team being able to win a 7-game series over this Dallas Stars team because we could talk about this
I was gonna say, well, a Dallas
matchup
Stars team
next.
that is Colorado took them the distance with 7. Winnipeg hoping to do so. Winnipeg winning tonight 3-0. Big shutout by Connor Hellebuck. Second shutout. He's recording the second round. And Dallas is taking the series back home. Still up 3-2. They still got the lead and can close it out. I mean, they're up 3-2, but both losses are
Yeah,
shutout
4
losses.
nothing, 4-0 win today actually, but
Oh, was it 4-0? Did
that
I miss a?
there was an empty netter with
Oh, there
not a
was an
lot of
empty
time,
netter. Yes, there was. Yeah. Okay, so
but
I think both
both
Jets
wins.
wins are 4-0 then, right?
Yeah, and I mean, more importantly, they're both shutouts. They haven't been
Yeah.
able to beat the Stars in through 5 games without Hellebuck stealing a game to the point where the other team scored no goals.
hmm
Like, obviously, that's huge, and if you have Hellebuck, you've got a chance if he's playing at that level. But you know, it's hard to win the cup when you can't win those close games. You can't win a 3-4. You can't win 2-4 with an empty netter or something like that. Like, you know, obviously they did get 4 goals, 3 goals without an empty net, but you know, it's a little late to say it in the series at this point, but I would like to see this team prove that they can win, you know, not necessarily a high scoring game, but one where you don't have to go, man, Hellebuck really, really grabbed that one for him, just held the other team by the balls and took him to the promised land.
Well, and, the thing I keep coming back to, right, is Winnipeg's played what now? 7 in the first round, 5 here. So they've played 13 playoff games up to this point. They don't have a win
That
on the road yet. All 4 wins in the first round against St. Louis. They won every game at home. They lost all on the road. And in this series, they've won 2 at home, and Dallas took one in their own barn, and Dallas won both in Dallas. So
yeah. No, yeah, you're right. And
Winnipeg hasn't won a game on the road yet so far. So this is a big test for them now. Season on the line. Game 6 you were going into St. Louis, but at least you had a 3-2 lead. So it's like, at least if we lose, we go back home for 7. It's you got to win in Dallas to force game 7 at home for you. You
I,
can't lose another one on the road.
I will say, if they do win that game in Dallas, I mean, now you're
Then
going
it's
back
anyone's
home
game at that point.
where they've been crushing it, and Hellebuck's been so shaky in other
Well,
people's
they're
barns.
6-1 at home.
They've been so good at home, and The whole team has not played as well at away games, but obviously specifically Hellebuck. So they got to weather that storm. And Dallas, they got to come out guns a-blazing at the start of Game 6.
Yeah, you don't want to go back up to Edmonton for Game 7.
Yeah, up to Winnipeg.
Yeah, isn't that what I said?
You said Edmonton.
Oh,
you're thinking of the third round already.
Well, they're probably pretty pumped to go up to Edmonton, but they got to get past Winnipeg first. But again, that's a big swing. You lose Game 6 just like that. Winnipeg's got the momentum. They just pulled off 2 wins in a row. Again, Game 7s, we always say the usual. Anything can happen, and Winnipeg's been dominant at home. Hellebuck's been pretty solid at home for the most part. You just don't want to risk it, and then that's another game of your guys getting banged up. You just want to finish it as soon as possible and get preparing to go up against, again, an Edmonton team that is just buzzing right now.
And
8-1
getting rest right now.
Last 9 games.
Yeah.
So you want to wrap this one up. I think it's definitely. I think this game could go either way. I'm leaning a bit more to Dallas just because, again, I think they're just a deeper team overall, and just from what Winnipeg has shown us, not being great on the road, Hellebuck struggling on the road. I gotta lean Dallas for Game 6, but it wouldn't surprise me if Hellebuck steals yet another game, because he's shown he can do it in the playoffs in the second round.
Yeah,
it's not the first round where it's like, fuck, we can't even rely on him. Like, the rest of the team's got to go out there and get it done. Hellebuck is capable of it, and Winnipeg may need that.
Somehow he's one of 3 goalies with 2 shutouts in the second round alone. Yeah, it's crazy that all of a sudden that was just happening night in, night out. These are absolutely bizarre playoffs. There's so much stuff going on, and just when you think you've got it figured out, something else weird happens.
Yeah, this has been... Yeah. It's been a wild ride so far. It's crazy to think that, next week's episode on Tuesday, we're going to be in the third round. Like, the latest a second round can go to is Monday night, and that's if Winnipeg and Dallas goes to a Game 7. So by next week, we're into talking about the third round. Like, it's going by fast. It's going by in the craziest ways possible. I'm not rating Winnipeg off yet, though. I don't love the odds for them, but
I don't think they're out of it, but
President's Trophy winning team.
I
put some stock into that.
Yeah, like, these playoffs just feel like they have a script more than any other year. It feels like there's just somebody pulling strings. I wouldn't be shocked to see Hellebuck get another shutout in Game 6, and then Rantanen to put up 4 goals in Game 7. Like, like, I could see it, man. Like, after what we've already seen in these playoffs, like, why wouldn't you? You could expect it at this point. So I'm very excited for Game 6 between these two.
Yeah, I think it's going to be incredible. I'd be curious to see. I don't think anything's going to come of it, but maybe Dallas doesn't have Jamie Benn for Game 6 after that kind of sucker punch on Scheifele. I don't know if that's going to... I'm assuming it's not a suspension just based on what we've seen in the playoffs so far.
Yeah, I mean...
But
even recently, we've seen sucker punches go unpunished, and... Yeah, it's... It's one of those things where I would have liked to see Scheifele stay down for that. Like, one of those moments, and he wound up for it. It was a pretty good punch. He really caught him with it, and, like, you know what? That's one of those moments where if he stays down and, maybe from the dressing room is keeping an eye on the game, if Dallas scores and then they need him back, he can come back. But if he stays out of the rest of the game, I would be leaning more towards a game suspension.
Yeah, I mean, if they played the card of, he left,
we've seen it happen.
Like, yeah.
But
I definitely think that it would have maybe changed the thought process a bit. But again, Department of Player Safety, who fucking knows?
Yeah. We can only ever guess whenever we talk about it like that, because at the end of the day, they'll do what they want, and what they want is not consistent. Despite constantly trying to set precedent, We talk about every incident like they're setting a precedent, and then they never follow any previous precedent.
Yeah, but I
Like,
think we're on the same boat that Edmonton would probably rather play Winnipeg in round 3 over Dallas.
yeah, yeah, I would imagine so.
Because it's basically the same. Like you look at it last year, what did Edmonton beat Dallas in 6 games in the Western Final? Was it 6 or
I
5?
think so. I'm not 100% sure,
One of the
but
two. Now it's if it's the same thing again. It's basically the same Dallas team except they've got Mikko Rantanen, who's a top 10 player in the league, playing like a top 5 player in the league in the playoffs this the way
yeah,
he's been
straight
going.
up.
And if you're Edmonton, it's like, I mean, fuck. I mean, you never want to go up against Hellebuck because we've seen, he can turn it on at any time and steal a game. But it's like Ottinger, who's pretty consistent, and then just this deep Dallas team that's, barring any crazy injuries in Game 6, potentially Game 7, is going to be fully healthy. They're going to have their full squad. Could
Yeah, and
Edmonton beat either team? Absolutely, but I think they'd much rather like their chances more against Winnipeg, though.
and I think they match up better against a team like the Jets. Like, we've seen the
Mhm.
Jets get absolutely caved in by teams with that top end talent, those top guys like the McCarrs and the McKinnons go out there and just torch them last year. And
Yeah,
when you've got guys like McDavid, Draisaitl, Bouchard,
they can do that.
that's the matchup you want versus a team that this year beat the Avalanche in 7 games in Dallas. They can figure out how to deal with that, high octane offense. McKinnon's still like top 5 in the league for playoff goals. He's still at 7, and I think the guy with the most has 9. There's a couple of guys with 8 and 9. Like,
Yeah.
he had 7 in 7 games there, and they still were able to win. So
Hmm.
I think they would
Yeah.
prefer the Jets, but
Yeah.
and you know what? Also less travel. So
Also,
it's
yeah,
a
that
it's a
is very
lot
true.
lot
Yeah.
closer to Winnipeg than it is to all the way down to Dallas.
Yeah. 100%. Um, and then we'll get into the 2 teams that, Carolina's waiting to figure out who they're going to play. The Florida Panthers are currently up 3-2 over Toronto in this series now, winning 3 straight. They're taking Game 6 back to Florida. So Toronto again, they're similar to Winnipeg. They got to take one on the road to you know
They
bring it
got
home
to
for
win
Game
one.
7. They've yet to win in Florida so far this year, 0-2. I mean, you can easily win and go 1-2, but um, looking kind of scary for them right now. In a Game 5 that a lot of people felt they would have a good bounce back from losing 2 in Florida. They're back at home. They're get comfortable again, get in the grooves, and they got throttled. Like it's 6-1
6-1.
final, but like it was just they got caved in,
Yeah.
and you gotta just wipe that completely out of your mind and
Yeah, I guess I
go
was saying
win
that he had
Florida.
2 shutouts in this round, but I guess it is only one because Toronto did pick one up at the end of Game 5. But oh man, like Toronto has in these throughout these playoffs has just been scoring at will, and they did it in game all series against the Sens. They did it in the first 3 games of this series. They played a great Game 3. Like, if they win that and go up 3-0, like,
Mhm.
I don't know if they win one of the other 2 games that's happened so far, but I feel like they put up a better performance.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that they lost that OT game, they got shut out the next game, and then they got one late in Game 5. The scoring is seemingly gone, and they need to reevaluate how they go about this in Game 6 because
Yeah. And
from going up
you
2
know,
nothing to being on the brink of elimination for the next 2 games, that's brutal for him.
yeah. And the biggest thing for Toronto, and this will make sense in a second, but you can't be losing after a period. And I know people are gonna like, well, of course you don't want to be losing after a period. They can't. You can't be trailing Florida after 1 period. You can't be trailing Florida after 2 periods. Because under Paul Maurice, while he's been the head coach of the Florida Panthers, they are a perfect 26-0 in playoff games where they have been leading after any period. If they're up 1-0 after the first, if they're up 3-2 after the second, whatever the score is, they close the game out regardless, and they win 26-0. So if you want to try and be the record breakers and be down, sure, but against this Florida team, the way they're going right now, like, you need to get off to an early lead, and you have to maintain that early lead.
Yeah, and that's actually kind of, I didn't have that stat, but that style of play that Paul Maurice has them putting out there, that's exactly why I think Hurricane fans everywhere are praying that Toronto can pull off this comeback now, because on top of Florida just playing a much more dangerous game, and even if you get past them, you'll probably have some injured and beat up bodies. I don't think the Hurricanes match up well at all against this Florida team. I think it's one of their worst matchups in the league. They play a high volume shot system. They throw everything on net, and they like to try and scramble and get things in. I think there's just too many great two-way players on this Florida Panthers team for the Hurricanes to really make it much of a battle, if I'm honest. Like, just all their two-way guys. They got the Reinhardt, they got Barkov, they got Luosterainen, they got Lundell. Like, all of these guys are just so good at clearing that puck and not letting those things through. And I think they'd just be trailing like the entire series. I think it would just be exhausting to watch as a Hurricanes fan. And I honestly, I think I don't even know who I would pick, Toronto versus the Hurricanes, but I can tell you, I think it would be a lot more of a fun matchup to watch. I think we would get a clinic in playoff style hockey, Panthers versus Hurricanes. I don't think it would be super enticing to watch, unless it gets like really physical.
I'm kind of with you. Yeah, I mean, again, like, it's just.
Meanwhile, on the other side, Dallas Oilers. Holy shit!
Yeah, like, that would be the one.
That's must see.
And again, it's you brought up the beginning of the episode. It goes back to when Toronto's up 2-0, and I said, if any team was to come back, it would be Florida, despite them being the only team that was down 2-0 at the time. But it's just, you can't give this team any life. Like, Toronto had their foot on Florida's neck, and they took their foot off for just a second, and before they knew it, it's not only 3-2, but it's 3-2 where, in Game 5, you got in at home, like, you just got dominated by them, and that's not a good feeling for Toronto. It's just like that, goes back to just that fuck, here we go again, like, all this momentum we have and everything, and all of a sudden, boom, we just hit a wall, and we're just scrambling now. And this is a legacy game for Toronto, right? Like, this could be the final game of Mitch Marner's career in Toronto. Potentially
probably
Matthew
not,
Knies,
but
potentially Tavares. Like, we don't know for sure, but
it could be.
This could be the last game of the core for Toronto.
People thought all the announcers were exaggerating last year after Tampa lost, and the camera was on Stamkos for so long. People were like, they're really milking this as if he's not going to come back. That was his last game in a Lightning jersey. Like,
yeah,
you never know what's going to happen. It can all change in an instant. And they got a lot of guys to re-sign. This could be huge. Like, this could be a game that their next 2 games could be ones that fans of this team are talking about for 20, 30 years. Like, no joke. So they looked so good against Ottawa, and they looked so good in the first 3 games. Even though they lost the third one, they still looked great throughout that game. They're looking a lot closer to the 2021, 2022 Leafs right now, and they need to shake that.
They probably felt so good making the playoffs, and all right, finally, no Boston. We don't have to play Tampa first round, and then
the Sens,
you got to play Florida. You do got to play Florida in the second round, and he's not on Boston. But then Brad Marchand, scores that dagger in overtime in Game 3
This
to
son
give
of a
Florida
bitch
life,
just keeps coming
and
back.
he flipped that series. Like, he is the Maple Leaf killer. Like, every Toronto fan probably has nightmares about Brad Marchand every night, just under their bed or in
For the
their
last
closet or eating their
14
cookies
years.
in the kitchen. Like, he lives rent free in Toronto Maple Leafs history. Basically, like, uh he turned the series by that overtime goal, and again, like, Toronto's not out of it, but it doesn't look good right now.
They got to play like they did in the first 3 games. They can't play like the last 2.
Yeah.
And it's not even just the goal scoring. It's like, I think it was the 4-0 goal in Game 5 where Mitch Marner he's been, people can dog on him all they want because he took delay of game penalties 5 years ago in the playoffs, but he's been outstanding this year, regular season and playoffs. But crappy backhand pass to nobody in the high slot in your zone, their guy takes it. And not only does he, the horrible giveaway, he didn't back check very hard. He's a pretty good defensive
he did not
guy.
do his job to cover that guy for the cross pass.
He didn't get back in time when visibly really looked like he could, and he's a fast player.
Yeah.
And they end up scoring. If he goes and back checks there, that sends a good message. They probably still don't win that game, but
it's at least a little bit of a different sentiment going into Game 6 than where it's at now.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you look at Winnipeg and it's they're again maybe a little bit different because they won Game 5 to keep themselves alive. But you look at Winnipeg going into Dallas, there's life. They're still fighting with every inch, but it feels like Toronto's marching to their grave going into Game 6. It kind of feels like, maybe not that's how they feel in the locker room, but the way that the narrative, the way the media is kind of pushing it and whatnot, is it's like, which is kind of weird because usually they're just gassing up Toronto. It's like Toronto's the greatest thing since sliced bread type of thing, but they're kind of pushing the narrative that's like they're marching to their grave here, and this is going to be the end of the core four, the end of the
end of an era.
And it's like, I mean, fuck, it could be.
No, yeah. I saw an article earlier today on if they lose in Game 6 in this offseason, if they re-sign Tavares, they should give him back the C because Austin Matthews has performed so poorly in this postseason. And I don't think he's performed that bad. He's still around a point per game while playing decent defense, but obviously you do need some goals from the guy that you pay all the money because he's that goal scorer. And they need to keep their feet moving in this next game. They got to draw some penalties and they got to score on that power play. Look at this power play. God damn. They don't even have Morgan Riley on the first unit anymore. It's just Matthew Nyes, Mitch Marner, John Tavares, Austin Matthews, William Nylander. That's murderer's row. Who's the least dangerous guy on that power play? Is that Matthew Nyes? Seriously? That's so filthy. Like, they got to go out there guns ablazing and they got to capitalize. And like you said, they can't give Florida the lead.
Yeah, you got to go out there and you got to get the lead and you got to hold on to it and you got to keep going. Just keep your foot on the gas all 60 minutes and try and point out. Because again, like we always say, Game 7, anything can happen, but like
Game 6
you got to come out fast,
scary,
hard, and just throwing everything you can at Florida.
Yeah, you need the guys to show up like they were in the first few games. Where was it? Game 2 of the series where Florida scored. It might have been Marchand. One of them scored to tie it up, and then 16 seconds later or something like that, Marner goes out there and scores right back. Like that's the stuff that you need to win these series, and especially against a team like Florida. Like you need to bounce back whenever they're doing something, and you need to just give it hell out there. Like. And Berube,
exactly.
I don't think he's afraid. Like if a guy is not giving him the effort out there in an elimination game, I don't think anyone is off limits to being benched.
Mm-hmm. It literally is, or it's a franchise altering game. You go and win Florida, you get some momentum back. You can easily beat them in Game 7. And then there's a clear path that Toronto could go all the way on to win the cup. You could go in the third round, maybe could lose in the cup final, there's a path at least that you could go all the way and win the cup. You lose this game, so many things could get blown up. Like it truly is just a
Yeah.
franchise altering game from
If
top
you
to
can
bottom
beat
for
this
that
Panthers
organization.
team, if you could beat this Panthers team,
You can beat anyone.
I could see you losing to Carolina, but I think you at the very least can beat them. I would almost call them the favorites if they come out of the series against them, and then it's the finals. One series to go. Like, obviously, whoever comes out of the West is going to be a great team, but nobody accidentally makes it to the finals.
Yeah, like if you're facing Edmonton, yeah, that's scary. You're facing Dallas, yeah, that's scary. You're facing Winnipeg, that means they came back to beat Dallas, and it means they beat Edmonton. They're going to be scary. Like whoever you get in the final from the West, yeah, it's going to be a terrifying opponent. But that's how the way it always goes. Every year it's whatever teams are in the cup final, it's the scariest team possible from each side clashing for the cup. So
Yeah, look at the Toronto lineup. Like, they're a scary ass team.
yeah,
The only thing
100%.
holding them back, they've even got a great coach. All that's holding them back is just the mental games. Like, just that they just got to get over it and go out there and play hockey and win, because we know they can.
And the last thing I'll say on this before we can wrap up talking about this series is I
Sure.
get that it is tough for them that you lost Stolars, you don't have him. And not all Toronto fans, but some are pushing the narrative that, oh, that changed the series, that fucked us. And it's like, okay, yeah, you can use that if you want, but then Edmonton's just laughing at you like, okay, we went to our backup and we went 6-0 with him. We won 4 in a row against LA, and we took games 1 and 2 against Vegas with our backup. Like, so they're they're kind of just proof that
And it's not like Wool's
easy, it's
been
not
bad
ideal,
for him.
but
He
you
got
can easily do it.
Wool got kind of taken out in game 5 there, but at the same time, there wasn't a ton of fantastic surrounding play from their defense in that game.
On
So
what Toronto scored with like a minute left. Like, okay, cool. He let in 6 or 5 or whatever. Like that sucks, but at the same time, his
if he
team
let in
didn't score
2,
a single goal for him.
yeah. If you only
Like
let
that's
in
at
2,
the end
it
of the
still
day,
would have
that's
been a
what it
loss.
comes down to. You know.
He didn't really have a
So,
worse night than anybody else on the Leafs. So
exactly right. Like you literally could say he was Toronto's best player, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, you know what, I can get on board with that. Because again, it was just a, a, a bad showing overall by the team in what was a really important game for them. And you got to flip the script now. Go into Florida and steal one in their barn. They did it to you. Go do it right back to them and take it back home and make some magic happen.
yeah,
Toronto deserves it. The players deserve it. The fans deserve it. It's
fuck me to
not
the fans deserve it. Holy man.
Yeah, they really do.
It's crazy how big their fan base is considering just how brutal it's been the past pick a number years.
Yeah.
Like,
Honestly, yeah.
but
Um,
either way, the next few games we got coming up, that being game 6 for Stars and Jets and game 6 for the Panthers Leafs, that's must watch hockey.
both series.
It's gonna be so
again,
good.
because next week's episode on Tuesday, round 2 will be done. Let's do final predictions. Dallas, Winnipeg, who's coming out on top, and is it game 6 or 7? I guess, is it Dallas in 6 or 7, or is it Winnipeg in 7? What's your prediction?
I feel like I should pick. Oh, I'm gonna say Dallas in 6. I want to say Dallas in 7, just because the amount of cinema is just off the charts this year, and it feels that like we're going that direction. But every time I try and picture them winning this series, I picture it happening in their home barn. I can't shake the feeling that they do it in front of their fans. So I'm gonna say Dallas wins it in game 6. I have no idea for the other series.
I'm Dallas in 6 too. And it hurts me because if you ask me to list, rank like my favorite teams from top to bottom, first of all, be very hard to do. But
That'd be a fun
for
video
sure,
idea.
top 5, probably top 3, I would have Winnipeg in there as a top 3 favorite team for me. But
Really?
this Dallas team is so deep and so good. And on the other side of it, obviously as a Sharks fan, I haven't got to watch my team in the playoffs for what feels like a million years at this point. And woe is me. But hey, I didn't get to see a cup win, so I'm allowed to be upset still. And
That is
so,
the rule. That is the rule.
the main thing I did was, all right, just start cheering for the boys outside of the team now that are elsewhere. And you know, Dallas Stars fans are great. They let me on the bandwagon, rooting for Pavelski for how many years. And then I kind of just fell in love with the team and the guys here. I was like, man, I want to see him get a cup. So many of these guys deserve it. And I've kind of just been a Dallas Stars bandwagoner for the last couple of years during the playoffs because, my team's not in it. And so I would love to see the Stars go the way. I'd love to see the Jets go the way.
Not to mention Granlund
But
on the team now.
I guess, yeah, Granlund too. Yeah, which kind of hurts San Jose because they don't get as good of a first round pick, but fuck, who cares? Let's see the Stars go on a run. So many good veterans on that team that deserve it. So many guys that have just fought in tooth and nail every year and come up short. I'm going Dallas in 6. I think being at home, just the thing of, hey, we win, maybe get a little bit of rest depending on what happens with Florida, Toronto. We don't got to go up to Winnipeg. I think, let me double check, but I believe Dallas would actually be the home team against Edmonton. I know for sure Winnipeg.
I'm pretty sure they would. Yeah, because Edmonton only made it by like a couple of, not a ton of points, like 5 to 10.
So crazy.
And Dallas
Edmonton
was like 13
with, so crazy. Edmonton only finished with 5 more points than Calgary.
Right.
But yeah, so Dallas would have home ice. So, whoever wins, Edmonton's going on the road for game 1. But you're Dallas, you're like, we win game 6, just kick our feet up, and Edmonton's got to come here. We don't got to flout anywhere for the next little bit. So I'm going Dallas in 6. But if Winnipeg forces game 7 and loses, if Winnipeg forces game 7 and wins, I wouldn't be surprised with either of those because this Jets team keeps finding a way. They've got the talent. They've got the goaltending when it's on. They can make magic.
Yeah,
but I'm going Dallas in 6. Final answer.
In my mind, for so many of these predictions we've done, I've been like, this team just feels destined to go on a run. And this is one of the matchups where it feels like they both are. And so I kind of have to put that aside. And I think Dallas in 6 is what's going to happen. But there's nothing I wouldn't be shocked. I would be shocked by if Dallas won in 7 instead. If the Jets came back and took both games, like I wouldn't be incredibly shocked at any of those. Yeah. I'll probably end up being shocked at who ends up being the game 6 or 7 hero. I'm sure somebody's going to come out of nowhere and have a crazy game. But
I was just about to say Dallas is 2 of their 3 acquisitions. Mikko Rantanen and Mikael Granlund both have hat tricks now in the playoffs. Cody Ceci, maybe it's his turn now to finish off that trio that they brought in, and maybe he's due for a hat trick or a big moment or something.
Cody Ceci elimination game hat trick in the playoffs. Book it.
Against Winnipeg though, or Edmonton? Fuck.
Probably both. Game 6 in this series, game 7 against the Oilers.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. And then to wrap it up, Florida and Toronto. What's your final prediction for that one?
Oh, I want to go with my heart, but I've done that a couple times in these playoffs, and I don't think I've been right very often. So I'm gonna say Florida wins it. I think they've just got all the pressure right now.
In 6?
I think in 6, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I kind of almost wanted to do the cheeky one of like Florida in 7, but it's like Florida has all the momentum and Toronto has just hit a wall. And again, like if Toronto wins, I'm not surprised, and it'll be a great showing of character for him, but
I'd be a little surprised, honestly. Not an indictment on them at all, but just how good this Florida team has been. Like you said, what was it, 26-0 when they're winning ever, basically. Like if they score first, like you're boned. So they're such a good team, and they play such playoff hockey that, yeah, it would be a great comeback if the Leafs could do it. Like, I genuinely think that would, if they win the next 2 games, that will exercise a lot of those demons that these guys have with the playoffs, and I think
Mhm.
we'll see a much more confident team in
Well, and I mean
the
to
third round if that happens. But until it
yeah.
happens, I got the Panthers winning.
Well, and I mean, just to really rile people up with this, in a game 5 where Toronto literally needed to lay it on the line, as everybody loves to say, um, they got walloped. And I'm just gonna say 6-0. Oh, 6-1, a 6-0 game, an absolute ass whooping.
Yeah.
It's just,
Arguing that it was only a
it's
loss
just
by 5 goals, like,
yeah,
that's not the
like
argument you think it is.
like like exactly. It's just it feels impossible to pick them right now because it really felt like, game 5 was a must win for them. You could not give Florida a 3-2 lead going back home, and you just got ruined by them and looked awful. So again, legacy game for Toronto, franchise altering game potentially. Um, go out there second time around, try and lay it on the line, and but I'm going Florida in 6 because just such a good team, every ounce of momentum possible in this series.
I would love to see Matthews go out and have a legacy game. Like,
Yeah.
everyone's talking about him right now. He's not scoring the goals. He's the goal man. Man, if he goes out there and puts up, 3 goals and an assist and, like, just takes over the game, like, that would just be so cool to see.
How crazy is it? And if you're a Toronto fan, maybe just turn the episode off. Just don't even listen to the rest. It's crazy to think that, you know, after this year's playoffs and, when you get around to July 1st, it'll be 7 years since they pulled off the move to snake Tavares from the Islanders. And immediately it was all the fans, all the media was like, plan the parade. We got Tavares. Like, we've got the core. We're doing it. Could you imagine if then 7 years down the line, you didn't get past the second round once in that 7 years? Like, that would be,
It's brutal.
yeah, like
And to
it,
be
it
fair,
would
it looked
be
like for a long time they
tough.
weren't going to get past the first.
Yeah.
But I mean, at least they've kind of shaken that at this point, 2 trips to the second round. But, uh, people aren't as hard on the Hurricanes because they're consistently getting to the second and every once in a while third round. But you got to break through at some point.
Well, especially with Toronto, it's just the talent they have. And, look at Carolina, right?
Several
Like
game
they
breakers.
pulled off 2 massive moves to get Jake Gensel last year, Ranton this year. Neither player wanted to stay there. You know, not counting Ryan O'Reilly, but most players that go to Toronto want to stay there, right? Like they've got their pick of guys that are just lining up to go there. And, Tavares included. And then you look at it, it's like, man, 7 years and not even one trip to the third round. Like that big move we made, we pulled off. All we got to show for it is we made to the second round twice. Um,
Yeah, like the
I feel bad
Hurricanes,
for Toronto fans, man. I
right? Like,
really do.
I
They're
know
such a
people
good
love
group of
dunking on them,
people.
but like at a certain point, in 2020 when they lost to the Canadians, it was like that was funny. That was funny. And then it happened a
Mhm.
couple more times and it was funny, but like I'm on year 2 or 3 of like, fuck man, that's a lot of good play. They don't have a lot of unlikable guys either. Most
Mhm.
teams at least have a couple of shitters, but like, and I guess you could say, maybe Max Domi, guys like that. Sure. But for the most part, most of their guys are rather likable. Like they've even moved on from,
But
guys
again,
like Colin Blackwell and stuff like that. Like,
Max Domi's a guy that you hate when he's on the other team, but you love him on your team. He's one of those type of guys.
well, sure, but like, you know, Marchand's a guy like that. But people still
Mhm.
hated the Bruins, even if they only hated them for him, right? But like
Yeah,
most of the
but
guys
it's
are
but it's
just
like one of those
very
ones that
easy
it's
to
not
cheer
like
for at a distance on the
it's not like a
Leafs.
Sean Avery type thing, right?
That's
Where it's
fair.
just like you just hate him. You're like watching him, it's like, man, I hate him, but then it's like, but like fuck, would I love to have him. Deep down, you're like, you still see the value in him as a player, and you're like, I tip my
Yeah,
cap and I respect you type of way.
yeah.
It's not like a pure hatred type thing.
Yeah. But like,
Although for Toronto fans, honestly, maybe it is for Marchand in this case, like legitimately.
at a certain point, it's kind of got to be. But like, yeah, they've got a lot
It's a
of
likable
likable
team.
guys, and their
For
fan
sure.
base has just been dunked on so hard. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing them go and win it all at this point. And just to go back to what you said about the Hurricanes with some of the guys they lost in this last offseason, they lost Jake Gensel, Teuvo Teravainen, Stefan Nason, Brady Shea, and Brett Pesce. And they're on their way to the Eastern Conference Finals this year.
Yeah.
Not to
And
mention
then that's also
they
including
also
Natchez.
lost Natchez, and they didn't get to keep
Injury.
Rantanen.
Yeah.
Like that
That's a
that's
lot
an
of, like, the
insane
talent that's
amount of talent.
gone.
And
Yeah.
what are they? 8-2 in the playoffs?
And I think they have the 4th most cap space this offseason.
Fucking hell.
Not to mention they've got their 2 firsts. Well, they have their first. Well, they have all their firsts, and they have 2 first-round picks from Dallas. So, like, you're in the Eastern Finals, and you went 8-2. You've got the 4th most cap space this offseason, and you have so many picks you could move to go out and get pieces.
You could
Like,
even
they
get a Mikko
are-
Rantanen.
Ugh. Don't kill
Like
me.
it.
Yeah,
Like,
you're not wrong.
oh
though.
man, their team is set up so good. They have Freddie Anderson back for next year. He's actually coming back on a cheaper deal. He's making 3.4 mil right now. His extension for
Yeah.
next year is already signed at 2.75. So he's coming back on a discount. Also, Jesper Fast is his contract's running out. He's been on LTIR this year. They've got Stankoven, who's getting better with every game played. Alexander Nikishin is looking great. He just played his first game tonight, I believe. And like
he did, first career game.
he's gonna be incredible for them. Like there's it's and I guess that's one of the reasons why people look at this team differently versus the Leafs, because they've still got so much runway ahead of them. But,
Yeah.
man, what a well constructed team. Annoyingly so.
Yeah.
And they've
I
and
would agree.
like you said, they've even
Go
got a ton of freaking picks. Crazy.
Yeah.
What a
They're in a
job
good
done
position. But that will wrap it up for this episode of the Stick 'em Up podcast. We are nearing the end of round 2. When you hear from us next, we will be balls deep. Well, actually, not balls deep. Just slowly getting deep into round 3.
Pucks in
Again, a little bit
deep.
ahead of myself there. Pucks in deep. But if you like this episode, if you want to talk hockey with us, let us know your thoughts on the remaining 2 series or your initial thoughts on the potential matchups for round 3. You can do so by letting us know through any of our socials, all down in the description, all episodes across all platforms. Braden, as always, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I predicted both games would end in game 6. I hope both series go to game 7 because it's more fun that way.
Ooh, yeah, it'd be kind of crazy if we didn't get at least one game 7 in round 2.
I do want the Stars to win, but I mean, game 7's more fun.
Game 7s are always just fun.
Yeah.
Right. And if it goes to game 7 between Dallas and Winnipeg, at that point, I'm probably just hands up and I just hope for a close, good game.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
I'll
the
get
last
kicked
thing
off
I
the Dallas
want. Like
bandwagon for that, but
the 6-1 win over Toronto, like, can you imagine that being like the final game of a series, or like that being a game 7? Like that would just blow. That's not fun.
it's not fun. It's awful.
Boo.
Shit.
Shit.
But that will wrap it up for this episode. Once again, hope you guys all enjoyed. And as always, we will see all of you lovely people out on the ice next week.